Okay, guys, we're in the National League final. Our form prior to it hasn't been the best, honestly. We're looking a bit scratchy, but it's okay. We've got the Phoenix Reserves now. Thankfully, they're playing the Brisbane Roar that week in the main team, so it shouldn't be like a jacked up B team. We've beaten them earlier this season. We should be okay. Let's just not bottle things and make sure we bring home another National League title, boys.
Party in the streets and the city's on fire.
Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 162 of the New Zealand Builder Nation here on Shaun Does FM with both the All Whites and Cashmere Technical. I hope you're doing well, and come up today we wrap up 2039 in the save of the National League Grand Final at Cashmere Tech. The opposition you'll see shortly. Also before then, as you can see on screen, we've got a youth intake and we've played another international window with the All Whites, so we're looking forward to that as well as the end of season review, transfer budgets, all that good sort of stuff. Then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated. But yesterday, played an international window in September against Argentina and Australia with the All Whites. So if you missed that one, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner. In between now and then, have made our way through to the National League Grand Final. The first thing that pops up that we're going to cover off in today's episode before then is the youth intake. This came in the week before this game we're about to play. As you can see, not a very good one. It's given about 3/4 of a star there, a poor intake, only a couple of players we're probably going to sign from this one. The top three there, we've got Matt Foster, another homegrown goalkeeper coming for a youth intake here at Cashmere Tech. We're getting quite a few of those. Also got quite a few foreigners in our under-20 squad as well, so maybe that's going to end up being quite a deep area for the All Whites if they can keep hold of some of those guys after we do leave Cashmere Tech off the back of the OFC Champions League in that World Cup year. I think that's the time when we're going to leave Cashmere Tech before that final World Cup with the All Whites of the save. But there's Matt Foster, decent player, 1-star current ability, 3-star potential, has a bit of height about him. He might end up being a half-decent goalkeeper here down in Christchurch. The best player in terms of current ability is George Grove, a defensive midfielder who I think actually looks best suited as a balling midfielder for what we do here at Cashmere Tech, considering he's got 15 tackling. So hopefully he ends up being half decent, even though that potential is only 3 stars. But current-wise, a little bit better than the other players who have come through this youth intake. And the other one we're going to cover off is Simon Hearn, a deep-lying playmaker, but can't play a bit further back like we use here at Cashmere Tech. So probably going to train him up as an attacking midfielder. He looks okay with 1-star current ability. So those are the 3 players we're probably going to sign from this year's youth intake. The rest of them are okay players, but not really cutting the standard here at Cashmere Tech. So unfortunately, our continued run of bad youth intakes here at Cashmere Tech will go on really. Only top player we've had come through one of these here so far is Harrison Debenham, the 3rd choice right back for the All Whites. But before you have a look at who we're taking on in the National League Final, we have got for another international window with the All Whites since yesterday's episode. And it ended up being against 2 teams who were not previously scheduled. We were expecting to take on Japan and Honduras. They both cancelled us, so we had to go quite low on the pecking order in terms of rankings for this window. Instead took on Curacao and Jamaica. First up, we took on the team who are ranked, I think, in the 90s in the world rankings. Indeed, that's the case. They're in 94th, you can see. Big dip down there from 85th to 94th. A couple of months ago, they have not recovered just yet, and thankfully that didn't happen when they took us on, because we spanked them 6-1. This was a really good game because actually could rest some of our key players in the second half going into a slightly tougher second game in this window, which might have been a good idea, as you could probably tell from the score from that game if you caught that before. But a 6-1 win here, first half just demoed them 5-0 up thanks to a Shaun Pearce hat-trick, and goals also to Pickering, McDonald and Ulisse off the bench. Picked one up in the second half. To be fair, the second half was a draw because Curacao didn't get one back there through Carlos Sanchez, but a very dominant display there, a 6-1 win, about what you'd expect considering the ranking gap between these 2 teams. The second game, though, honestly a bit of a disappointing performance. We took on Jamaica down in 68th in the world. Are the Reggae boys only 1-0 thanks to an early goal to George McDonald. So this performance a little bit disappointing. Definitely the better team in this game, but unfortunately could only score the one goal, but thankfully did get the job done despite the fact we did not play at our best. There you can see the match momentum, pretty average game off the back of that opening goal, and also a good chance not too long off the back of that. Unfortunately, didn't put that one away, so just picked up a 1-0 win. So a bit fortunate there to beat Jamaica. Certainly not at our best, but we do pick up 2 wins in that window. And what that means is these days we are 15th in the world. Not much of a change there to our world ranking, sandwiched in between Australia and Sweden. So that's what things look like going into 2040 in this save, which is going to be 2 years out from the next World Cup. Of course, the Club World Cup's 2041, the World Cup's 2042, so that's when we are going to end this save. But now we can switch over into Kashmir Tech mode and see who we're going to be taking on in the National League Grand Final this season. And it is a new team that we're going to be taking on in the National League Final this season. It is going to be the Wellington Phoenix Reserves. That makes things a bit interesting in terms of the OFC Champions League for next season, because the Phoenix Reserves, they can't play in that competition. So Western Suburbs, despite coming third, sneak their way into the Champions League for next season. So back to the usual 2 teams in that competition. They finished 4 points clear of Manurewa, 1 point further back to Western Springs, and a gap back to the likes of Auckland City, Eastern Suburbs, and Wellington Olympic, Havelock North and Christchurch United bringing up the rear. In the National League this season, you will notice we did drop points in one game. It was a bit of a frustrating one too. It was against Western Suburbs. Got off to a good start there with nearly goal to Jonas Otto, but gave away a penalty which Ramsey put away, and unfortunately just couldn't find a way to beat them there, despite the fact that we were on the front foot for that game, albeit should have been a bit more dominant with those stats we did have in our favour. But a poor penalty given away there from Greg Martinez did mean that we dropped some points against Western Suburbs in one of our first games back at my arena with the expanded capacity of around about 8,000 people. But thankfully, all around that, we have been picking up some pretty comfortable wins. 5-1 over Havelock North, 3-0 over Eastern Suburbs, 4-0 over Western Springs, 3-1 over Auckland City. Did actually have to come back from 1-1 at halftime in this game again because of a penalty. So thankfully, not conceding too many goals that are from open play. And off the back of that Western Suburbs draw, it was a 4-1 win over Manurewa. Yet again, they did equalise there in the first half, but Walid Khalid stepped up with a hat-trick in the second half of that game. So despite the fact that Western Suburbs did take points off us, they dropped a couple, and that was 3 draws. The other 2 draws against the Phoenix and Auckland City, and also they did lose to Manurewa, while the Phoenix Reserves did win 1 more game than Western Suburbs did. So that's why we're going to be taking on here the Phoenix Reserves in this year's final. Going back that schedule, we took them on pretty early in the National League Championship and picked up a relatively comfortable 3-0 win. The Phoenix Reserves can be a tricky team to take on at times in the save. Going to be quite interesting to see how many fringe first team players they do put up for this game, considering it is a final. But there you can see the stats. Despite the 3-0 scoreline, not that one-sided a game. They definitely did a similar amount of shots to us, a few more off target than they would have liked, but still, they're definitely a team that can challenge us here in this National League final. They have beaten us before in previous seasons of the save, not too often, but definitely a team we need to respect there out of Fraser Park. For some reason, says their captain is Isaac Hughes, even though these days he's at Kashmir Tech. So I think their screen a little bit buggy here, considering it's the Phoenix Reserves who they have available. It does change quite a bit week to week, depending on how the big team is getting on in the A-League, which, if you are wondering, a quick look at how the Phoenix are getting on. And they are on top of the A-League, as you can see here through the table, 4 points clear of the Melbourne Victory, just going down to the second division to see how AFC Auckland are getting on, looking okay to potentially make their way back up to the A-League for next season. But going back to the Phoenix, these days, quite a few players that were previously used in the All Whites here being key players for Chiefy there. Jamie Kelly, Reece Maguire, and Callum Kelly, a key player there, the young 19-year-old, who we haven't given some game time to for the All Whites for a couple of years now. That might not change, seeing as Walid Khalid these days does qualify for the All Whites in the hot prospect. Actually, one of our former players has made his way to the Phoenix off the back of a spell at the Gold Coast Knights in Mitchell Clout. So the Phoenix, in terms of their first team, have some quite good players. Obviously also got some of our other former ones in Stephen Lopez as well as Ezra Zumas. We'll be interested to see if any of those guys do pop up in this Phoenix Reserves team, depending on what's going on with their scheduling. they've got a home game tomorrow against the Brisbane Roar. So you think most of their good players will be occupied with that. So thankfully, this doesn't fall on a weekend where they have a bye, because that might have made things interesting if they would have had to make a decision if they want to try and win this competition and take the National League title off us for 1 year. But to be fair, it wouldn't make too much difference. It wouldn't have any psychological advantage going into that Champions League next season, seeing as these guys won't be in it. It'll be Western Suburbs instead. In terms of our squad, thankfully, no injury concerns these days. Marcus Vinicius has just come back from injury, but to be fair, he's not first choice anyway. That these days is Marco Corona. So thankfully, you can go for first choice 11 with a couple of under 20 players thrown in for this final. We hopefully will retain our National League Championship as we take on the Phoenix Reserves. And here are the team sheets for this 2039 National League Grand Final. First up are the Phoenix Reserves. This is actually a home game for them at Sky Stadium, so it does work out quite well for them. They're going with a 4-3-3. We are going with our 4-2-3-1. It's our best 11. Martinez and Hall do come in at centre back and goalkeeper respectively to fill that under 20 quota, but still, it's a strong team, been doing the job for us for the most part in this National League this season. Hopefully, it continues in the Grand Final. And a pretty good highlight in this game, just 7 minutes in, there is a goal kick here to the Phoenix Reserves. Martinez wins that in the air, a little bit of aerial ping pong, and they get that ball back there through Hall Jones, Jason Hall Jones, not Jacob Hall Jones. They have to check that. Different player to the one who has had a few caps for the All Whites, as you'd expect, considering this is the Phoenix Reserves, not their top team, but thankfully played the ball over the top there, too deep, and Hall claimed that, and now we make our way out from the back. I thought we were going to keep that ball there through Young, didn't quite fall to him, but now back on the attack. That ball ends up with Clark. That one was a bit lucky, so we are on the attack here. Martinez plays that one forward, nice ball over the top to pick out Debenham, makes his way towards the byline. Corona and Bakali back out there to Harrison. Debenham, a left-footed finish, and curves that one around Taylor into the bottom left corner. First highlight, first goal, and Harrison Debenham, of all players, will pick up a goal. As I said earlier when we saw our youth intake, the one good player we've had come through so far here at Cashmere Tech, to be fair, Shaun Hall, actually pretty similar potential these days with this game time that he's been getting this season with the under-20 rule that we do need to stick to. But a decent start for us there, bit of an iffy highlight, but Debenham grabs the opener. And we go forward to just past the 20-minute mark for the next highlight of this game of thrown for us here inside of the final third, and some good short passing as well. We find Jonas Otto plays it in for Kali. Debenham looking to get himself on a hat-trick, but unfortunately that shot would have been straight at Taylor, also goes too high. But as you can see, stats-wise there, definitely the team on the front foot as Corona is sitting on a yellow card. That might mean he comes off when we do get into half-time. Now we go down the other end here for a corner to the next. Thankfully, deal with that somewhat quite kindly. They give that ball there to Otto. Poor pass there though, and Shrivers can get that one back there for the next, but thankfully they don't keep it for too long. Otto, that ball quite kindly does stay with us. Now Khaled plays that one back to Martinez. Corona, poor pass from him. He's not even good first half considering that yellow card. Now Smith does get on the attack. Some good footwork, takes on the shot, and that is a good effort, but thankfully comes off the post, and then Shrivers, his effort does get blocked. So another corner here for the Phoenix, but showing a bit of life here. They are around the half-hour mark. A diving header away there from Otto should mean this highlight comes to an end. Not quite yet. Shrivers plays it to Walker. Eventually it does. The first couple of chances there for the Knicks in this game coming up to half-time, but definitely deserving a lead in this game. But really, we do need a cushion goal just to push this one out to a safe margin early stages of the second half. 1-0 thanks to that early goal through Harrison. Debenham are going to take off Corona. Didn't look too good in those couple of highlights we saw there in that first half, and also he is sitting on a yellow card. He, like Cifuentes, will actually qualify for the All Whites next year and probably gets in over someone like Marcus Vinicius, but Zajic can come on. Will move Martinez forward to a ball-winning midfielder. Isn't natural there, but he can play usual midfield, so it should work for him. Hopefully that won't hurt us too much, bringing on another under-20 player here for the second half. We can build on this 1-0 lead. And it's taken a little while here for the first highlight of the second half, about 20 minutes in, and it's a throw for us inside the final third. Otto pulls that one back across the face of goal, and Debenham, a first-time finish. He does get himself on a hat-trick, and he has been pretty important for us in this game because no one else really looks like scoring a goal, but Debenham picks up a double. That ball from Otto I thought surely was looking there for the player in the middle, but it forced a Debenham. Good strike there. Nothing Taylor can do about that one. With a bit of help from the inside of the post, makes its way into the back of the net, albeit there is a highlight from the restart. Can the Phoenix make their way back into this game? Kunini, who's quite a promising player, good potential for the All Whites in central attacking midfield, takes on a shot, but that one does go well over the bar. And a few minutes later, there is a highlight, and again, it might be in favour of the Phoenix. And maybe we've woken them up now, having to go more attacking off the back of us grabbing that cushion goal. Schreibers does lose out there, good foot in from Jonas. Although now Young starts to make his way forward, plays that one through to Kamala, who puts it away, but a bit of a late flag there from the assistant in the top right corner does mean that one will get ruled out. Just making our way to the last 20 minutes of this game. There's a free kick. Otto tries to put that into the mixer. We'll get it back. Takes on a long-range effort. It nearly dips in time. Taylor might have had it covered, but doesn't quite find its way into that top left corner. And now both our wingers have dropped down to red hut. Sousa can play right wing, so we'll move him forward and Roberts can come on for Kelly, and a bit more of a normal sub at left wing. The Hotman de Villiers will come on for Jonas Otto. That's all our subs used as we make our way the last 15 minutes, still with a 2-0 lead. And now there is a highlight right off the back of that, and it's a pretty zippy throwing routine there from the Phoenix. They grab a goal, and I think that's through Schreibers. Hall Jones sets that out nicely, and Carl Harrison, another player on the radar with the All Whites, takes that one, finds Hall Jones, and Schreibers. A good first time finish there. That makes it 2-1. So things now getting interesting late on in this game. If we blow this, we've only got ourselves to blame. We really should have scored more than the 2 goals. The XG is about right, but still 22 shots to 5, 8 on target to 1. So we really should be grabbing a third goal in this game. A chance there from a corner near post, but Anderson puts that one just over the bar. But thankfully, only 3 minutes of added time. Not the best performance. Certainly could be better in terms of our goal scoring. To be fair, that's been the case in a couple of these games that we've played recently. As you saw before, that's what kind of happened in that Western Suburbs game. But thankfully, we just did enough there to get the job done. The Phoenix Reserves put up a good fight there in front of their home fans at Sky Stadium. They probably don't get the chance too often to play at the big ground there, seeing as they are the reserve team. But thankfully, we picked up the National League. That looks like it should be for a 12th time overall. And I think that makes it 10 or 11 now in a row for us here at Cashmere Tech, off the back of a 2-1 win in the final, thanks to a double from Harrison Debenham. So it was a little bit scratchy there in that final, but we pick up another National League title here at Cashmere Tech. We've gone through all the inbox items off camera, seeing, as I'm pretty sure you've all seen those before, last couple of times we have won that. Before we go forward to the end of season review, have got the team of the year as well as our transfer budget for next season. As you can see, complete domination for us here at Cashmere Tech, apart from midfield, which to be fair is usually the case. For some reason, our midfielders don't tend to get as good a ratings as the rest of our players, but all actually in goal. Then we've got our usual back four, Sousa, Martinez, Anderson, and Debenham from that National League campaign. Obviously, the wingers Otto and Carly, both of them had superb seasons, should definitely be out there in terms of player of the season. And Johnston and Kamalo up front, even though usually only one of them would start. Janssen on the bench, to be fair, didn't play too much, off the back of the signing of Jamie Young and Markow from Manurewa, and Schreibers, who got that goal in that final from the Phoenix Reserves. They sneak in there in midfield. And in terms of our transfer budget for next season, there it is. There we go, up to 43k a week in terms of the wage budget, and 50k that we can spend on players, albeit that's probably not going to be a thing that we do. It'll probably just get shifted over into the wage budget, and also for a little bit of scouting. You can see it does mean we've got about 3k a week spare in that wage, and already need to top up that scouting budget as it's gone into the negative. So it's going to mean about £45,000 we can use on players, but that won't probably happen. I dare say going to be looking at some more free transfers here at Cashmere Tech. And we've gone forward a couple of days off the back of the transfer budget and team of the year coming through, and now we can get stuck into the end of season review here at Cashmere Tech for 2039. Picked up all the trophies on offer as per usual. 5 of them, because of course, as you know, OFC Champions League doesn't show up for some reason. The signing of the season, though, did go to Craig Johnston on a free. 19 goals in 16 appearances, 8 of those off the bench. To be fair, he had an absolute blinder in that Chatham Cup at the end of last week. scoring 5 in that 7-0 win over Auckland City. Average rating not the best. Finn Brown actually did quite well in the couple of games that he got late on this season, but in terms of the overall impact, Craig Johnston does get signing of the season, also doing quite well. Jamie Young and Greg Martinez, Peter Zajic might get some more game time here next season depending on how we can fill those other under 20 spots alongside Shaun Hall, because Martinez is now 20, won't count for next season. He probably will drop out for someone like Hosafa or for Zajic, but he'll probably get some more game time next year, seeing as he still is under 20, but Craig Johnston did get the signing of the season on a free previously at the Wellington Phoenix, kind of replacing his Resumas, who we sold there for £55,000, has done a pretty good job, 9 goals in 16 appearances. And also Mark Anderson, one of our former backups here, when we had Josh Hawkins, that's when we first signed him. He's gone back to his former club in Western Suburbs, only played a couple of games, but done a decent job. So to be fair, not too much going on in terms of transfers this season at Cashmere Tech, but the players we brought in did do a good job. Here are the season's results, and they will be pretty good for the most part. That was one of the reasons that we could get through this season a bit quicker than the last couple. Just that one draw does mean it's not quite a perfect season late on against Western Suburbs, but apart from that, and some close games occasionally against Christchurch United, it was a bit surprising to see they were so far down on that National League Championship, but otherwise some very convincing wins. We went perfect through the Southern League, and there's a quick look at what happened in the other leagues. Manureira, of course, the Northern League champions, and Western Suburbs, the Central League champions. That's how things did finish off in the National League. OFC Champions League, this was pretty comfortable. A couple of close ones in there, usually in the second legs, when we used our rotation teams in the quarters and semis, and also Havelock North actually made things close in that final, but we still picked it up relatively comfortably. Yet again, the Chatham Cup, this was very easy apart from a close game there against Western Suburbs in the 4th round, as you saw on camera late last week. And that final, as I said, Craig Johnston with 5 goals, helping us to a 7-0 demolition of the fallen Giants in Auckland City. And start of the season, picked up the Charity Cup a lot easier than we usually do with a 6-0 win over Havelock North next season. It'll be interesting to see if that game is against Western Suburbs or the Phoenix Reserves, seeing as those guys did finish second in the National League, because of course they don't usually play games until the start of the National League Championship, as they automatically do get a spot in that competition. It's going to be interesting to see who actually take on next season in the Charity Cup. The moments to remember, our biggest win, there were 2 large ones over Mosgiel in the Southern League, but the biggest was the 10-2 one back in April, led there by a double hat-trick to Wiley Carly. The match to remember, apparently a 5-0 win over Otago Uni. Kamala got a hat-trick, but otherwise not too sure why that one's so memorable. And the goal of the season did come in the Champions League final. Lorenzo Janssen, I remember this one, from well outside the box to give us a cushion goal. And here it is, here in this game where we were wearing our white and blue. That ball quite fortunately made its way through to Debenham, then Carly to Janssen. Really nice strike that from a fair way outside the box. Did beat Yamakani, and that does pick up our goal of the season here at Cashmere Technical. Going over the finances, bit mixed here this season, but I think overall might have made a little bit more money. Sponsorship went up, our broadcast revenue went down, but that certainly got cancelled out by our match day commercial and retail. I think that's because we got a lot more money for having a larger stadium here at Cashmere Tech this season, playing most of our games at Rugby League Park. That's also why corporate and hospitality has gone up a decent amount. For some reason, our competition prize money, it went down, even though I'm pretty sure we won all the same competitions that we did last season. Maybe New Zealand football getting a bit broke. And in terms of the top shirt sellers, Otto, Khalid, Cifuentes, Young and Johnston, they moved the most shirts here at Cashmere Tech. Here's our best 11 for this season. Hall and goal over Cifuentes, seeing as he played a lot more in the National League. That's probably also the reason that Martinez is there at centre back. Otherwise, that's pretty much the team that we did use throughout our National League campaign. Lorenzo Johnson's in there, probably because he played more than Jamie Young, who got here a bit late in the season. But really, that team of the season does make a ton of sense. The 2 players there with very high ratings, Khalid and Otto, both had a ton of goal contributions. Otto actually a slightly higher rating, so maybe he's the favourite for the player of the season. And indeed, that's the case. In fact, he picks up that as well as the young player of the season with an 8.2. Signing of the season, as you saw before, Craig Johnston. Goal of the season went to Janssen. The top goal scorer was Khalid with 38, but Otto got 30 assists. I think a couple of records broken there, as you'll see on the right-hand side. Indeed, that's the case. Most goals and assists by a player in a season, and most man of the matches did go to Khalid, but again, he gets a little bit robbed there of the player of the season. But to be fair, Otto did do well and actually had a higher rating than him, unlike Ezra Zumas from last year. And going over the competition awards, Khalid, National League Player of the Year, also picked up the National League Golden Boot. Kamalo, Champions League top goal scorer, and Craig Johnston, largely thanks to those 5 goals in the final, did pick up the Chatham Cup Golden Boot. We picked up Manager of the Year, and in terms of record breakers at the club, quite a few this time around. Khalid, most goals in a season, most league goals by a player in a season with 27, also most in the match with that double hat-trick against Mosgiel. And going down a bit further, Otto, most assists by a player in a season. Janssen these days, the most appearances with 187, but Khalid's overtaken him with the most league goals by a player at Kashmir Tech on 97. Expect that record to hit 100 next season with the form that he is in, especially because he is only 24 years old. Janssen actually might not be here next season, with the likes of Finn Brown and Jamie Young being ahead of him. On the pecking order now, so one of our legends here at the club, and Lorenzo Janssen, might be moving on to greener pastures, mainly because he won't commit to the All Whites. There you can see, picked up all the trophies, as well as the OFC Champions League. Still not sure why that doesn't show up here on the end of season review. And here's where things do pick up on our manager timeline. We won the Champions League, Kamalo the top goal scorer. Went up the rankings a couple of times there with the All Whites to 15th as well as 14th. We'll just go back there quickly. We also signed some players and picked up the Southern League. We can move on now to where things do wrap up for this season. All-time great Khalid with that record for the most goals at Kashmir Tech. Picked up the National League again. Helped out by Khalid as well as our player of the season in Otto. And we did complete an undefeated season. Just a little bit frustrating that Western Suburbs did draw with us quite late in the season. But I think that will do it for 2039 of the save. If you enjoyed it, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. We'll come back tomorrow and get stuck in to the group stage of the OFC Champions League for 2040 mainly, so we can update you guys on the signings that we do make before we get stuck in to that new season, just in case we find some good under 20 options to boost our squad up. But to be fair, Champions League, that rule doesn't count, so it does mean the likes of Sif Winters and Hosafa should get their spot back in that team for that competition. But until tomorrow, we will start off 2040 of the save, hopefully get through at a similar pace to this season, so then we can spend a bit more time at the Club World Cup, and off the back of that, the FIFA World Cup, to finish this one off when we get to 2042. Thank you very much for watching, keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.